Sunny is dubbed as WWE's first diva, as she was a trailblazer for how modern women's wrestling is today. She was sexy, smart, and powerful, and was unlike anything wrestling had seen to that point. She was so popular, in fact, that she was once the most downloaded woman on the internet. She was so legendary that she was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2011. But as rapid as Sunny's rise was, her fall has been just as quick and far more chaotic, featuring infidelity, lies, addiction, adult entertainment, multiple arrests, and perhaps worst of all, killing a person and now being in prison for it until 2039. But how did it all get to this wretched point? This is the story of the epic rise and tragic fall of WWE's first diva, Sunny. Sunny, real name Tamara Lynn Sytch, was born in Matawan, New Jersey on December 7, 1972. When she was 7, a neighbor introduced her to professional wrestling, and she was quickly hooked. One of her favorite wrestlers was WWF women's wrestler Wendy Richter, and when she was 17, she went to a local wrestling show with her friends. There, she saw a fellow high schooler, Chris Candido, in the ring, and it was love at first sight. The two became inseparable, even though they didn't immediately start dating. In fact, Candido's mother relayed a story of Chris going to his high school prom, but leaving his date midway so that he could leave with Sunny. The two began dating while still in high school, but looked to be pursuing very different paths in life. Candido was pursuing the only career path he had ever wanted, to become a professional wrestler. Sunny, however, was incredibly intelligent and was looking to get into the medical field. Before meeting Candido, she had planned to go to medical school in the hopes of becoming a plastic surgeon. Originally, Sunny was set to leave New Jersey the summer after her and Chris began dating to start a pre-med journey, but she was so in love with Candido that she decided to put her medical career and education on hold to stay and travel to shows with him. In order to stay close to the action, Sunny began working as a photographer for the wrestling matches. She had a talent for photography, and her photos caught the eye of noted wrestling photographer Bill Apter. Apter would actually pay Sunny for her photos, and earned the distinction of being the first person in the wrestling industry to pay Sunny. Candido, meanwhile, was reaching out to anyone and everyone to try and advance his wrestling career. One of the men who he sent his tapes to was Jim Cornette, who was running Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and Cornette was impressed by what he saw. The problem Cornette had was that he wouldn't be able to pay Candido enough to justify picking up his life and moving to Tennessee, where the promotion was based out of. Cornette found out about Sunny though and had an idea. If he could also bring Sunny in as Candido's manager, then he could conceivably pay both of them, and that might be enough to bring them to Tennessee. So Candido and Sunny decided to embark on Tennessee by joining Smoky Mountain Wrestling in 1992. Despite having no real experience in a wrestling ring, Cornette saw potential in Sunny. He decided to bring her to the screen as a character that was an upper-class girl from the Northeast who idolized Hillary Clinton. At the time, the Clintons were in the White House and were hated in the heavily Republican areas of Tennessee and Kentucky, and Cornette knew that by positioning Tammy as someone who loved the Clintons, it had the potential to make her the biggest heel in the territory. Mixed with the winning gimmick was Sunny's natural charisma on camera. From her very first camera interview, it was clear that she was meant to be a wrestling personality, and Cornette was impressed by her ability to nail her material in only one take. Sunny was quickly hated by the fans in the promotion and actually began to become more popular than her boyfriend Candido, who she was a manager and valet for. Although she was finding some success in the wrestling industry, elsewhere things weren't going as well for Sunny. Her father, who she had always maintained a close relationship with, passed away, and it absolutely broke her heart. Despite this tragic incident, it was becoming clear that her future was in a wrestling ring and she was clearly meant for the big stage. She then received a phone call from Bruce Pritchard and the WWF. Pritchard wanted to bring in Sunny for an audition for the company, but awkwardly, he only wanted Sunny and not Candido. Despite her reservations and guilt over being the only one called for, Candido pushed Sunny to take the audition. Sunny's audition didn't go too well, but the company still saw something in her, and in 1994, they offered her a contract, of which Sunny accepted. Sunny started to work as a reporter for the WWF, while still maintaining managerial duties with Candido in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. In 1995, the WWF decided to transition Sunny into being a manager as well, and finally extended an offer to Candido to bring him into the fold. The two were branded as Team Spirit, a pair of babyface cheerleaders. Very quickly though, it became apparent that the two worked better as heels, and the switch was made. Unfortunately, an alignment change didn't fix all of the issues with Team Spirit though. Sunny had experience as a cheerleader in the past and fit well within the role, but Candido was struggling to connect with the character, and the WWF decided to rebrand the two. Now known as the Body Donnas, the couple was presented as villainous fitness gurus, and this managed to work and put them on the path to getting over with the fans. Once again though, Sunny took the gimmick better than Candido did, which was a recurring theme throughout their careers. Despite looking the part and being an exceptional wrestler, Candido consistently struggled to connect with audiences, while Sunny had a magnetic screen presence. It was Sunny's popularity that started to move the Body Donnas up the card, but it was the same charisma and popularity that would begin to push Candido into the background of Sunny's career. The group was completed when Tom Pritchard, now known as Zip, joined, and together the Body Donnas captured the tag team championships at WrestleMania 12. Although the men in the tag team were finding some success, the true breakout star of the group was still Sunny. She was the most prominent female manager in the promotion since Miss Elizabeth in the 80s, but her style was very much different than the first lady of wrestling. Sunny looked like the girl next door, but she was brash and outspoken at the same time. Despite never having a match and rarely ever getting physical, Sunny was consistently the focal point of any segment she was involved with. She was given her own show, The Sunny Show, in 1996, and was even awarded Manager of the Year by Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Sunny also started to find success outside of the ring as well, as she was beginning to be repositioned by the WWF as a sex symbol. A photo shoot with Sunny was featured in Raw magazine, and her edition quickly became the best-selling edition in the magazine's history. AOL would reveal that in 1996, Sunny was the most downloaded woman on the platform, outperforming the likes of mainstream superstars like Pamela Anderson, Jennifer Aniston, and Mariah Carey. She was also featured on popular television shows like Entertainment Tonight and The Inside Edition. She was even approached by Playboy to appear in a spread, and although she declined Playboy's offer, it was becoming clear that Sunny was one of WWF's biggest mainstream celebrities since Hulk Hogan. Unfortunately, along with her success, many in the back began to report that Sunny's ego was growing as well. Sunny's presence was always divisive since her arrival in the company, due in part to the perception that her huge ambitions were a sign of selfishness. Between this perception, Sunny's growing ego, and her outshining her boyfriend, many wrestlers in the back began to look for ways to put the rising star in her place. Many heinous things were done to Sunny by the other wrestlers, but perhaps the worst was when the entire locker room took the chance to get back at Sunny during a feud between the Body Donnas and the Godwins. The Godwins were pig farmers, who famously would douse their opponents in pig slop after matches. One night on Raw, Sunny was set to receive the slop bucket after a match, which Henry Godwin announced to the male locker room earlier in the night. He then left the bucket unattended, hinting to the roster about letting their negative feelings towards Sunny be known. An hour later, the bucket was overflowing and Sunny was covered in whatever contents were poured into that bucket. One of the elements that led to such animosity towards Sunny was the treatment of her boyfriend, Chris Candido. Chris was relatively liked by wrestlers backstage, and many of them felt bad for him with how he was constantly cast aside in favor of Sunny. Although Candido consistently supported all of Sunny's endeavors, there was always a bit of awkwardness at Sunny excelling more at the career that Candido both introduced to her and dreamed for himself. The actual romantic relationship between the two was also starting to have some issues. After 7 years, things had become stale with the couple, but their reactions to the staleness varies on who you ask. Candido had always been under the impression that they were still together, but Sunny claims that they had broken up. Regardless, it was during this time that Sunny started her infamous relationship with Shawn Michaels. What started as rumors and an in-ring angle with Shawn Michaels planting a kiss on Sunny in front of the crowd blossomed into a full-blown affair between the two. Again, full details of the affair are a bit hazy, as Michaels very rarely has spoken about it, but according to Sunny, the two had an intense physical relationship. Though they tried to keep it a secret from the back, possibly to keep Candido from finding out, it became an open secret among the wrestlers that Michaels was seeing Sunny. Though Candido was reportedly furious about the affair and even was encouraged by his brother to fight Michaels, he had little recourse over it. Shawn Michaels was a top draw in the WWF, and if Candido laid a hand on him, even if he was justified, history says that he would be the one to suffer. Michaels and Sunny had an 8-year age gap between them, But despite Sunny's murky relationship with Candido, she claims to have fallen head over heels for Michaels, even declaring to him that she loved him. Michaels, for his part, never seemed to view the relationship as anything past physical. Regardless, the two were noted for vacationing in Jamaica together while Candido was wrestling on a loop, and Sunny claims that Michaels even asked her to move in with him in Texas. Sunny took Shawn Michaels more seriously, but Shawn didn't see her as anything more than a plaything. She was reluctant to make a clean break with Michaels, but eventually Michaels dumped her. The Michaels affair wouldn't be the end of Sunny's rumored infidelities, however. She claims that after breaking things off with Michaels, she would go on to sleep with Davey Boy Smith. Sunny's run-in with the Harts weren't done with just Davey Boy Smith though. Sunny would typically watch Bret Hart's kids from time to time, and during the Hitman's epic rivalry with Shawn Michaels, this fact was exploited. Though Michaels was the one having the affair with Sunny, he insinuated that Hart was cheating on his wife with the Diva during his infamous Sunny Days promo. This caused real-life tensions between the two to boil over, and even led to Hart's own wife confronting him over the rumors, but Hart and Sunny have both denied this accusation to this day. It was also during this time that Sunny began to get involved in the hard partying scene that plagued professional wrestling at the time. Growing up in a strict household, Sunny didn't even drink when she first signed for the WWF, but during her time with Michaels and with the crowd she started to hang around with, drinking and drug use, particularly the painkiller Somas, began to creep its way into Sunny's life. As is usually the case, what started out as social drinking and drug abuse exploded into full-on addiction for Sunny. After her popularity had exploded in 1996, the Body Donnas had split up and Sunny was bouncing around as a manager between different acts. She maintained her place on the show, but her role lacked stability. Candido, who was struggling to get over on his own, ended up leaving the WWF in 1997 to go to ECW. The rise of Sable in the WWF, however, would spell doom for Sunny in the promotion. From the beginning, Sunny had a degree of professional jealousy of Sable, who had become the hot new female act in the eyes of both the fans and management. Sunny also took issue with Sable on a personal level, claiming that the two had wildly different personalities backstage that clashed, and Jim Ross has stated that Sunny never got over what she felt was a stiff slap Sable delivered during an in-ring segment. Regardless of the reasoning, the heat between the two women grew, but with Sable's backing from management and Sunny's increasing addiction issues, it was clear that this was a fight that Sunny wasn't going to win. After no-showing a number of appearances in 1998, Sunny was released from the WWF. Only 4 days after being let go, she appeared in ECW. Sunny had made occasional guest appearances in ECW along Candido in 1997, but she was now a full-blown member of the roster as Candido's manager. Despite being an immediate top name in the promotion, she was a far cry from the diva who was the most downloaded woman in 1996, as her drug and alcohol issues began to mount and the effects were starting to show up on camera. Sunny would struggle to walk in her heels, and generally had issues in her on-screen performances. Behind the scenes, it was just as bad, as there was a time where ECW star Raven brought the liquid drug GHB into the locker room, and Sunny stole it from him. GHB is a depressant, so Raven only found out that his GHB was stolen when he found Sunny passed out, having urinated on herself. This is how bad her problems had gotten. Candido was also struggling with addiction to painkillers at the time, and the couple were eventually taken off the air as a result of their addiction problems. Behind the scenes, their relationship continued to spiral, with Candido's brother talking about how the two would be violent with one another one moment, but then act like nothing was wrong the next. Sunny was also said to be continuing her infidelity, sometimes while Candido was in the ring. Many of her actions were done in the name of feeding her addictions, with reports of trading sexual favors to Sabu in order to acquire painkillers from him. Sunny hit a new low on an episode of ECW on TNN, as she was involved in an interview that spoke about her real-life addictions. Many felt like the emotional interview was a tasteless ratings ploy, and it affected the audience's view of Sunny. With both Candido and Sunny being suspended from the ring due to their drug issues, the two looked for other ways to make money within the company. They ended up being tasked with handling the travel for ECW talent, booking their flights and rental cars from city to city. Typically, the way this would be handled would be Candido or Sunny would pay for their arrangements with their own credit cards, then be reimbursed by ECW. However, ECW began to hit major financial issues in 1999, and the reimbursements stopped coming. This resulted in Candido and Sunny being saddled with a huge amount of debt and actually led to them losing their home. They would leave the company soon after, and to this day, Sunny holds a grudge against ECW owner Paul Heyman for his role in their financial destruction. The couple tried their hand in WCW in early 2000. Sunny's time in WCW was short-lived because of her intense drug issues, and within the year, both her and Candido were gone from the promotion. From 1996 to 2000, in only 4 years, Sunny went from one of the most popular women in all of wrestling to an unemployed addict. Sunny was still with Candido at this time, and their drug habit got worse as the two would often get high on hard drugs together. Her drinking problems also increased, and it got so bad that it resulted in her being briefly hospitalized for drinking-related pancreatic issues. It was also around this time that Sunny started her first foray into the adult industry. She helped launch an adult website with another former professional wrestling valet, Missy Hyatt, called Wrestling Vixens. Sunny would pose nude for the website from 2001 through 2003. Things would somehow get even worse for Sunny following tragedy in 2005. Candido had started to pull his life back together, getting over his addiction to painkillers, and was having a career resurgence in TNA. After an injury that saw Candido break both his tibia and fibula in the ring, Chris required surgery, and then after the surgery, he made the fateful decision to fly to TNA's next television tapings. The flight resulted in Candido developing a clot in his ankle, which traveled to his heart and killed him only 4 days after his injury. The sudden loss of her long-term boyfriend sent Sunny into a spiral of which she never truly recovered. Her drinking became unmanageable as she would spend multiple days in her own home, only leaving the house to get more alcohol. Despite her issues, Sunny would attempt to move on. She then entered into a relationship with wrestler Damian Darling, but the relationship with Darling soon became extremely toxic, thanks in large part to Sunny's addictions. Darling reported coming home many days to find Sunny passed out from alcohol, and she was sent to rehab 3 times throughout the relationship. The two finally split after an incident that saw a drunk Sunny throwing knives, hammers, and various other items at Darling during a fight. Darling, fearing what he described as a potential Chris Benoit situation, ended the relationship, but this wouldn't end the interactions between the two. Sunny would go on to accuse Darling of SAing her, but Darling was never charged or investigated because the police found no signs of any SA on Sunny when she made the accusation. Despite all of this drama, Sunny actually started to get her life in order, and she was even inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2011. But then after this induction, things straight up just went off a cliff for her. Let's start off on how she got involved in heavy pornography. She began to sell her body online and once attended an event called Legends of the Ring, where she charged fans $50 to lie next to her in a bed and $75 for a signed photo of the event. She started selling adult video chatting sessions on Skype for as low as $10 per session. She attempted to sell her Hall of Fame ring on eBay. The adult company Vivid Entertainment, seeing an opportunity, offered Sunny a $100,000 contract to work with them. She accepted, and in 2016, Vivid Entertainment released a pornographic film featuring Sunny with the title Sunny Side Up, In Through the Back Door. Hopefully you sickos don't search that up. On top of this, in 2020, Sunny created an OnlyFans account to upload adult-oriented, explicit content. But the worst indicator of her life going downhill after her Hall of Fame induction in 2011 is how she started to get into legal trouble consistently. The amount of times Sunny has been arrested is astounding, and if this video were to go into every single time Sunny got arrested in extreme depth, this video would be an hour long, but this is basically a rundown of her arrests. In 2012, Sunny was arrested 5 times within a span of 4 weeks for disorderly conduct, third-degree burglary, and 3 counts of violating a protective order. In 2015, she was arrested for driving under the influence in Pennsylvania. In 2016, she was arrested 3 times for DUI within the span of a few months in Pennsylvania. Later that year, she was sentenced to 97 days in jail for the DUI charges. In 2018, Sunny was arrested in New Jersey for a DUI, her 6th charge for DUI-related offenses. Later that year, she was arrested for failing to appear in court for the DUI charges and spent time in jail in both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. In 2019, she was released from jail in February, only to be arrested again in March for driving with a suspended license and failing to appear in court. In 2020, Sunny was arrested in July for multiple charges, including operating a motor vehicle during a second license suspension, eluding a police officer, and violation of a domestic violence restraining order. In 2021, she was arrested for unlawful possession of a weapon and making terroristic threats after she threatened to murder her lover with a pair of scissors. She was also later arrested for driving without a license. All these arrests are a lot, but in 2022, Sunny's incredible spiral would finally come to its sad conclusion. On March 25, 2022, Sunny was involved in a fatal car crash when she was driving recklessly and drove into a stationary car at a stoplight. The accident resulted in the death of a 75-year-old man, and Sunny had to be taken to the hospital for her injuries. While there, a blood sample revealed Sunny to have a blood alcohol level 3.5 times over the legal limit, and she was also high on weed at this time. Sunny was also driving without a license, with it having been revoked after her numerous drunk driving offenses in the past. She was not allowed to be released on bail because the authorities saw her as a danger to the community. On November 27, 2023, Sunny pleaded no contest to the charges, and she was sentenced to 17.5 years in prison and 8 years of probation. She is due to be released in 2039 when she's at the age of 67 years old. Truly a sad ending to a once bright story. Sunny's rise in pro wrestling is one of the fastest and most meteoric in the history of the industry, but it's possible that this rapid ascent is what contributed to her even more dramatic fall. In nearly every company and in nearly every aspect of her life since, Sunny has been followed by controversy, much of which has been her own making. Whether it was a habit for infidelity, her fights with various women backstage, or her crippling alcoholism and drug addiction, she has always been an unending source of drama since reaching a peak in 1996. And though Sunny has been credited for paving the way for many women in professional wrestling and earning the moniker of the original diva, her legacy cannot be considered anything more than a cautionary tale of what can happen when a rapid rise in fame meets an unchecked ego. Another women's wrestler who was a trailblazer but also had an unchecked ego is the Fabulous Moolah, as she SA'd, sex-trafficked, extorted and ruined the careers of many women's wrestlers. If you'd like to see the video on the life and crimes of the Fabulous Moolah, click the video on screen now. Thank you for watching the video.